Refrain from sharing them with anyone else. Complete the pre-webinar assessment form and ensure its submission at least 1 week before your scheduled training. The Google Form link for the pre-webinar assessment form has been shared to your CBSE Siksha email ID along with the meeting link. So please access the email to find the form and provide your responses. You will be joining as an attendee. Your audio and video should be off. You will not be able to present your screen. You will not be able to see the list of other participants attending the session. You won't be able to see the chat messages of other attendees. Keep the layout of the WebEx webinar in full screen mode for a better view of the presentation. For attendees joining from a PC, please ensure that the audio settings are configured to use system settings for optimal audio experience. Then click Computer Audio to hear the audio. If you want to use your computer with a headset, you can choose Microphone from the settings menu. If you have joined from your mobile, then audio should be chosen as Use Internet for audio. Then click on Speaker mode. You can use earphones or earpods if it is not audible. If you are still facing problems, kindly log out and log in again. Follow these steps to enable chat box in your mobile. Step 1. You will see an icon on the right topmost corner. Click that icon. Step 2. Press chat option. Step 3. Any communication with the resource person should be through the option Chat with all panelists. So click Chat with all panelists. Step 4. Then type the message you want to post to the resource person and then click Send. Step 5. To access the links from CBSE and RP, click on Chat with everyone. Step 6. Links posted by the resource person in the chat box can be accessed by clicking on it, which would take you to another window. Click on Continue to proceed further. Kindly note, to avail captions option, follow the steps below. If it is mobile view, step 1. In the meeting window, go to the meeting menu, then select options, that is the 3 dots. Step 2. Select Advanced. Step 3. Select View Captions. If it is laptop view, follow these steps. Step 1. In the meeting window, go to the meeting menu, then select options, that is the 3 dots. Step 2. As people talk in the meeting caption will appear here. Attendance link will not be sent to the participants. It will be automatically recorded provided you join from your official CBSE Siksha email ID. Post-webinar assessment link will be shared in the first week of September. Participants are requested to pay full attention to the webinar as these are important modules which will lay the foundation for the upcoming academic sessions. Eligible participants can download the e-certificate only if they attend the webinar for complete duration on both days and after the successful submission of assessment form. To avail the e-certificate from the training portal, the submission of feedback is mandatory. Thank you. and Dhanyavad.
Good afternoon and namaskar to all the participants. I, Archana Thakur, Joint Secretary, Central Board of Secondary Education, welcomes you all in this webinar on PRAYOG. PRAYOG, that is Pradhanacharya Yojana for Growth, is an initiative, is an online training program that has been designed for the principals of the schools affiliated to CBSE, that will equip them with the knowledge, skills, and resources that will help them in implementation of NEP 2020 in their schools. As envisaged in NEP 2020, uh, we all have to align our efforts in imparting holistic, inclusive education in a safe environment to all our students. CBSE has already taken a number of initiatives in this regard. A few of them is NEP recommends more on competency-based learning, and board has also started transforming its examination on the same pattern. Now the questions are more competency-based and learning outcome-based. Then this NEP also recommends um, proper assessment of students that is more formal, regular, and formative, and therefore SAFL was introduced. And it also talks about adopting innovative pedagogies in learning, and therefore art integrated and sports integrated learning has also found its space. NEP also speaks about setting certain guidelines for quality standards for a school, and therefore therefore SQUAL was drafted so that the schools may follow certain minimal quality standards. These were some of the initiatives of CBSE. Now, in today's webinar, we have eminent resource person, Dr. Papya Mukherjee, who is Principal DAV School, Durgapur. She will throw light on experiential learning, competency-based learning, sports and art integrated learning, and SQUAD, and some other initiatives like SAFL. We are all having today with us Dr. Pragya M. Singh, Director Assessment. Ma'am, under leadership of ma'am, a number of CBSE projects have been taken up and completed successfully. Ma'am has also played a very important and crucial role in implementing and executing SAFL. So now I request ma'am to kindly inaugurate this webinar. Ma'am, please.
Thank you, Archana ji. Namaskar, everyone, and good afternoon. I welcome all principals of RO Bhubaneswar who have joined us today at this first session of PRAYOG. So, as my colleague Ms. Archana has already informed that the PRAYOG is about the initiatives which CBSE has taken for the implementation of NEP. All of you are aware that NEP 2020 recommends shifting from road-based to competency-based education, and many efforts have been taken by CBSE to move towards competency-based education. So competency-based education is actually the kind of education which enables learner to align their conceptual understanding to the real life situation, real world. So in accordance to that, board has taken several initiatives. I would just summarize a few into three parts. One is the pedagogical reforms like art integration, sport integration, storytelling pedagogy, experiential learning. Then we have assessment reforms, that is moving towards competency-based assessment, and gradually we have been incorporating competency-based questions in our sample papers and board question papers. So the sample papers for the first for this session have already been uploaded on the website. I'm sure all of you have seen it. If you have not seen it, please kindly refer to cbseacademic.nic.in. The third third reforms branch of reform that we have taken is a systemic reform. So systemic reforms, under that we have already integrated affiliation and upgradation with SQUAF, that is School Quality Assurance and Assessment Framework. And apart from that, we have also introduced SUFFLE, that is Structured Assessment for Analyzing Learning. A pilot has already been done in approximately 2,000 schools across the country. Aligning with the international best practices, we are just going to integrate the data received from that SUFFLE pilot for the report generation, result analysis, which will soon be out. And the third is Holistic Progress Card, which is actually a 360 multi-dimensional progress card, which brings out the uniqueness in every child. So these are all a few of the initiatives that NEP has recommended and we have already implemented. A need was filled that all our principals, because the principals are the backbone of any educational system, you as a principal take forward everything that is taken by CBSE or that is introduced by CBSE. You work towards delivering quality education and ensure that all education strategies are in place. You are the facilitator, you are the guide, as well as you embrace new methods of teaching and learning through your continuous capacity. So we as CBSE recognize the enormous responsibility which is placed on the shoulders of principals, and that is to effectively implement NEP in your schools. So in the light of this, the Pradhanacharya Yojana for Growth, as the name itself tells you, it has been envisaged and has been launched yesterday by Honorable Chairperson CBSE on the auspicious occasion of Guru Purnima. Now, this program would be for all principals of all CBSE affiliated schools and would span over over a couple of months. And for all regions, it would be taken by different eminent resource persons who have joined us for PRAYOG. And I would also like to share with you that the 3 hours that you take for this orientation session would be counted towards 50 hours of CPD as per the training policy of the board. So in the light of this, I welcome everybody once again and wish you all a very best and successful orientation on the PRAYOG. And I thank you, the resource persons who have devoted their time in making this PRAYOG a success, and wish you all very best. Thank you so much. Namaskar. Over to you, Archana ji.
Thank you, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you for your kind words. Now, I would request Papia ma'am to kindly take up the sessions. Papia ma'am, please.
Thank you very much. Thank you. Good afternoon, everyone, and thank you very much, particularly to Archana ma'am and Dr. Pragya ma'am for this wonderful initiation. It makes my job so very easy. Without going into the details of the program, which has been the overview of PRAYOG has been given very nicely by Archana madam and Pragya madam. So I will not further deliver on this. Just to add on that, as has already been pointed out, this PRAYOG, which is a 3 hours webinar split into 2 days, first day 1.5 hours, and the second day it would be 1.5 hours. On the very first day, we will deliver on competency-based education. We will talk about principal as a pedagogical leader. We'll also speak about innovative pedagogical tools, as Pragya madam has already shared, like storytelling as a pedagogy, art integrated learning, sports integrated learning. And finally, we'll conclude today's webinar by sharing about inclusive education. I would like to share my presentation now. I hope the screen is visible. Okay, thank you. I have with me Pragya Singh. She would be the co-host with me for this 1.5 hour session. Prayog. We'll come to this regarding why Prayog. What is the rationale behind it? And the rationale stems directly from NEP. The rationale for Prayog stems directly from NEP and which speaks about continuous professional development of principals. As principals and school leaders, page 21 speaks explicitly about the National Education Policy, which says that principals and school leaders will have to undergo leadership and management workshop and online development opportunities for continuous improvement in their own leadership and management skills, so that they are also able to share their best practices with each other. Now, it is mandated that school leaders, we have to have 50 hours or more of continuous CPD, not only on management and leadership, but also on content and pedagogy, so that we are well prepared for implementing pedagogical plans based on competency-based education. The first module will discuss about principal, who are the leaders of learning, principal, responsibilities of principal as a pedagogical leader. I've tried to put in the circulars, and all of us, majority of the principals, in fact, all have gone through the pedagogical leadership by principals, the online training, and that was done in 2 phases. First 3 days of training and then 2 days. All of us have done this, and so fairly we have an idea what the CBSE expects us, what is our role as a pedagogical leader. In the Indian context, when we say pedagogical leader, what are we looking at? Which functions are we talking about? There are some core functions, and they are to be enumerated as 4. As a pedagogical leader in school leadership, you have to have the ability to influence others. You need to be an influencer. You need to be empowering others. You need to be a very good collaborator. You need to direct others. If these can be summarized as 4 main functions of school leadership. Now, when you influence others, if you are a good influencer, you will have the ability to change others' behavior. You can help them achieve goals without any authority, rewards, or punishments. You can bring about the desired changes in the stakeholders, all stakeholders that you come across, to achieve the desired goal. You are in a position to empower others. When you are empowering others, you are instilling curiosity. You are allowing them to think out of the box. And you accept ideas of others. You enable others to experience greater sense of self-worth. You are a very good collaborator. In order to be a school leader, you need to collaborate, have meaningful and cordial relation with others, and have a sense of shared purpose. You also help others in setting goals. You guide others in be with your staff in solving problems on their own, and support them in connecting to other leadership teams. As a pedagogical leader, when you are setting direction for school improvement and student learning, there are 5 steps to it. 1 is creating a vision for the school. When you create a vision for the school, you involve all stakeholders, be it teachers, students, staff, non-teaching staff, parents, alumni, management people, everyone. And then you use collaborative processes to create a vision and write the vision statement. The vision that has been co-created by involving all stakeholders needs to be revisited after maybe every 1 year, 3 year, or 5 year to evaluate the school's progress against the vision statement. Once you have created a vision involving all stakeholders, you need to work on building up a shared vision. And that can be done by a collective sense of purpose among all stakeholders. You need to establish a collective. Everybody needs to own the vision. Everybody needs to work for making the vision into a reality. And then you have to collaboratively identify the gap that exists between the current reality in the school and the vision that has been created. Then make a strategic roadmap to implement the vision. The third step, after you have created a vision for the school, you have built a shared vision, is developing SMART goals. And needless to say that the goals need to be specific, measurable, attainable, realistic, and time-bound. Those SMART goals need to be aligned with the vision and the shared vision. Goals of the school's various departments, the expectation of people, all these need to align to the vision that has been created, and then execute a plan for implementation and achieving those SMART goals. You need to develop personal vision as a school leader. And for doing that, you have to identify the gap that exists between your current self and the aspirational self. And that can be done by reflecting. You need to reflect on your day-to-day practices, align the vision, shared vision and personal vision, and always you have to articulate the vision. The last step in making directions for school improvement would be you need to become a self-aware leader and align your personal beliefs with the school leadership values. Once you have aligned your own values, belief with the education system values, you become self-aware leader. Now, what are the steps that you will be taking to ensure that student learning is happening in the desired direction? We already discussed that once you are a self-aware leader, you are aware of your unique strength as a pedagogical leader, which is so very important and critical to realizing your own fullest potential, especially as school leader. Now, once you have become a self-aware leader, your leadership practice that you do in the school, your personal vision will align with the values and vision of the school. You need to build an inclusive culture. How do you do that? It's a very, very broad term to bring about inclusion, which is far more encompassing than talking about only CWSN, that is children with special needs. You need to bring together the human resources and material resources, engage in professional development, build collaborative teams, involve parents, take community support, and do whatever accommodations are required to ensure that increased participation of children with special needs happen in the teaching learning process. Developing a learning culture. You have to, as a pedagogical leader, ensure that you have developed a learning culture in the school, a vibrant learning culture. And the schools need to be learning organization with you being the chief learning officer. Now, when you create a learning, you are able to develop a learning culture, you provide learning opportunities to the students so that they can carve their own learning pathways. Central to developing a vibrant learning culture in school is the understanding among all stakeholders. It's very important that once you have created a vibrant culture, learning culture, where everybody is a learner, co-learner, everyone learns, the teachers, the students together. So another important understanding is that stakeholders, all the major stakeholders, they need to know that learning is a journey where every student participates and they will learn from their own success and failure. As a pedagogical leader, you also need to engage yourself in professional development of teachers. You need to provide opportunity. It is one of your pivotal responsibility to provide opportunities for teachers to learn continuously through a comprehensive professional development program, which has been developed by doing need analysis of CPD. You need to know what staff need, what kind of training, what kind of empowerment has to go to the staff, which teacher would need what kind of professional help. And accordingly, the training calendar of the school needs to be prepared. And your role as a pedagogical leader is very crucial in developing a comprehensive professional development plan for the school. The next step would be initiating innovations in school. Whenever we talk about innovations as schools, we do not want to take innovation. And generally that happens from only one single thing, and that is fear of failure. We don't want to take it because we are not sure of the result. They may prove to be good, they may not, they may fail. And as a result of which, we don't want to come out of the comfort zone. As a pedagogical leader, you have to promote innovation, create, just like you have to create an inclusive culture, you have to create a learning culture in the school. Similarly, you need to create a culture of innovation in the school. When you do that, you set expectations. And that expectation is you need to understand that innovations means there would be risk-taking. You have to create a culture where experimentation is encouraged and appreciated, irrespective of outcome. You need to give that assurance to the teacher, to the student, no matter what, try out new things, think divergent, think out of the box. You allow them to take a risk, and the moment it happens that it is unrelated to the outcomes may be as desired, it may not be as desired. Once that has been taken care, you are able to practice pedagogical leadership to enhance student learning in the school. Needless to say that teaching learning processes, they are the nerve center of any school. It is through teaching learning that whatever we intend to do, enhance student learning, do them with them experiential learning, use innovative technology, the career of all this is the teaching learning process. It is through this process that students learn new knowledge, skills, attitudes, and values. As a pedagogical leader, we can promote teaching learning processes by demonstrating that as principals, we are also lifelong learners. How do we assure student learning when we talk of pedagogical leadership, or when principals have to assure that student learning is happening at all cost? And that is the why so many changes we are talking about. We are talking about shifting from rote memorization to competency-based education. Now, how do you assure? There are 4 different avenues to assure that student learning is happening, and it is happening as we are desiring. First will be, how do you ensure that attainment and progress of student is happening in all school subjects? Now, this is comparatively a measurable one and an easy one. Why? Because it's very, very specific. Now, whether students' progress, measuring students' progress in learning can be easy of learning outcome. And that can be done by mapping developmentally age-appropriate and grade-appropriate learning outcomes to the curriculum across various subjects. And as far as CBSE schools are concerned, learning outcomes have been developed and shared by NCERT, which has been given by CBSE. It's not important that only learning can be complete and holistic when a student can perform and attain academic grades. In order to make learning holistic, a student has to perform his or her responsibilities towards self, school, family, society, and above all, the nation. For this, everyone of us want to nurture our students to be citizens, good citizens, turn them out to be good and responsible human beings, well aware of their potential and competencies. This is what has been desired by CBSE. Learning is incomplete if we focus only on the scholastic side of it. We have to prepare students for their life. And that can be done when they are well prepared to lead a healthy life with positive attitude. And healthy life, mental well-being is one that has come up has become prominent, particularly, it was always there, but particularly post-pandemic. This has been an important area for all schools to look at. It's important that our students are resilient. We prepare them to fight back. They may fail. We have to not only prepare them for our brighter tomorrows, but if anything goes wrong, they should be resilient. They should have the spirit to fight back, get up and take on from there. And this can happen only when their mental well-being as principals is taken care in the school. So school therefore has to pursue personal, social, and emotional development of the students also. That brings us to the last step of assuring student learning, which is moral reasoning and ethical sensitivity. Students will be exposed to various kind of situations in their lives by schools, families, neighborhood, community that would require them to apply their moral reasoning. At the same time, practicing ethically. Ethical practices are to be followed. We need to groom them. We need to groom our students, make them learn, and that will develop the internal ethical compass. And by that, they will do value clarification. When we say value clarification, they will reason out all the time. Am I what I am doing? Is it in sync with the values that has been given to them? That is what we need to test them on. And the school must provide opportunities for the same. Before we proceed further, I would like you to go for a small activity. I will post a link, and I would like we'll do a small activity. We'll be using a Mentimeter. I'll post that link in the chat box. I hope you are able to see the link, get the link. And we'll select I'm reposting the link probably. A Mentimeter link for an activity. I'm just trying to repost. Can somebody in the chat write whether the link is, I can't see the link, so whether the link is available? I'll try once. Probably some glitch there. We will discuss, take it up. I was trying for a Mentimeter activity. I'm said it is working. Yeah. I'm finding huge participation. That's so encouraging. So almost all of you, since we have done the training on pedagogical leadership. So what are the role of principal as a pedagogical leader? We'll close it now because so various responses that are there. We also have the various kind of, so by now you have done what we were trying to do is the role of principal as a pedagogical leader. Now, what are the responsibilities? Though the roles and responsibilities. Thank you for this wonderful participation, huge amount of participation. So, though the duties and responsibilities of principal as pedagogical leader is endless. However, we can take them in 3 different domains like that of an administrator, controller, and pedagogical leader. As an administrator, you are ex officio, the member secretary of the school management committee. You are the head of the office and take care the entire, perform all academic and administrative duties. Financial controller, you are the drawing and disbursing officer. As pedagogical leadership, you need to supervise, guide, and control the work of teaching and non-teaching staff of the school. Take care of make a timetable, take care of admissions, allocate duties, plan academic work in advance with colleagues, take meetings, review once the work is done, and just see, also assess monthly progress of the pupil. You need also to know that you develop short-term and long-term vision of the school. This is a suggestive list of competencies that are desirable in a principal. As a principal, you need to connect with the world other than the school, inspire and motivate others, collaborate, communicate powerfully and positively, innovate, enact change, resolve conflict, establish goal. You ought to have technical and professional expertise. You need to self-evaluate whether you give a proper working environment, safe and joyful working environment, because your relationship between the principal and the staff has various important bearing. And whether you take care of the medical issues, are you aware of the medical and personal issues? Do you empower them? Do you build confidence and provide avenues for growth? All these needs to be taken care. To-do list for school principals: learn about right to education, learn for the curriculum, national curriculum framework, learn to adherence to RTI, learn about code of conduct and discipline issues. You have to know about the Supreme Court guidelines on transport. Academic matters, you need to know the affiliation bylaws, examination bylaws, curriculum, syllabus, etc. And resources that are available: a handbook for principals and beautiful resources, beautiful document which has now come up. And then the other is pedagogical leadership, a handbook for learning. This brings us to the second module, which is competency-based education and experiential learning. We'll just share a small video.
A lot of discussion lately about how to better engage students in their learning. One promising strategy is competency-based learning, or CBL. But what exactly is CBL, and how will it change a student's learning experience? CBL organizes learning around students' interests, needs, backgrounds, or aspirations. It provides authentic assessments of student progress through demonstrations or products which establish students' mastery of the subject. Students advance only upon mastery of the subject, not according to a calendar date. CBL offers transparency for students, teachers, and parents. Both teachers and students have clear objectives, and parents are kept in the loop about their students' progress. Why should we adopt CBL? CBL provides opportunities for student-driven, practical learning environments, and it successfully engages young people in their learning.
Why we are talking about competency-based education? Because again, this is taken from page 12 of the document on National Education Policy, that curriculum and pedagogy in schools have to be, learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. So for doing that, we have to include hands-on learning, art-integrated learning, storytelling, all these to be standard pedagogies, because learning has to shift from rote memorization to competency-based education and learning. These are the CBSE circulars that have been given to introduce it. What is competency-based education? All of us by this time know that it is an outcomes approach to education to ensure proficiency in student learning by demonstration of knowledge, skills, values, and attitude required for dealing with real life situation at age and grade appropriate level, which means knowledge plus skills plus attitude when applied in real life context and underpinned by values, that is what is termed as competence. Now, competency-based education and curriculum, in that what the learners are expected to do, it is the emphasis is on what they have to do rather than merely focusing on what they have to learn. And it is learner-centered, adaptive to the changes, needs of students, teachers, and society. Learning activities and environments enable learner to acquire and apply knowledge, skills, and values to situations that they encounter in everyday life. Now, what are the pedagogical approaches that need to be taken for competency-based education? There has to be reorientation on the delivery methods. And how do we reorient? By empowering our teacher with effective and efficient and sound instructional strategies, methodology, and technique that facilitate competency-based learning. The features would be that it is child-centric and inclusive, as their focus is on individual achievement. It supports students' ability to be independent, lifelong learner. It requires designing of classroom activities, which requires use of knowledge, skills, and attitudes that they have acquired in real life and simulated situation. Competency-based education is interdisciplinary instruction, collaborative learning, experiential learning, problem-based learning, games, simulation, case studies, presentations, projects, etc. What should be the assessment practices? It has to be criterion referenced, and the criteria that is set as far as CBSE is concerned is attainment of learning outcome. Now we need to report these assessment also on the basis of rubrics which needs to be shared. Children have to know, students have to know what are the basis of their assessment. The assessment can involve objective as well as performance assessment also. And students should be able to demonstrate the required level of competency in order to get progress to the higher grades. Let us just take a quick look on the initiative that has been taken by the board to transform education towards an outcomes-based approach and more competency-oriented. In order to create an ecosystem of competency-based education in the schools, CBSE schools, it has come up with it has taken a four-pronged strategy: content, pedagogy, capacity building, as well as assessment. All these four parameters have been addressed by the board. And the first in content, it has been said, adoption of learning outcomes have been made mandatory to map it with the curriculum and integrate it in the lesson plan with developmentally appropriate content. Lot of teacher resources are available. Manuals have come up. In pedagogy, preparation of annual pedagogical plan, and then mandatory experiential learning, art and sports integrated learning, and connecting all learning to real life situation. Assessment, various type of changes have been made in the assessment. Board has already introduced case-based questions, multiple modes of assessment like portfolios, MCQs, reflective assessments. Learning standards framework has been developed by the CBSE. And as far as capacity building is concerned, online teacher training module on CBE is available on Diksha, and self-learning material is also available on Nishta. That brings us to experiential learning when we are talking about it. That is Cobb's learning cycle, very, very important, from concrete experience, that is feeling, to divergent and reflective observation, watching, and divergence, feel and watch, assimilating, think and watch. All of us have been doing with Cobb's learning cycle earlier. We have taken, and I have taken this from the CBSE sample only of experiential learning handbook, wherein it has been beautifully discussed about how to introduce experiential learning in the classes also. There is sometimes a feeling that experiential learning is only hands-on learning and therefore does not have a lot of reflection. However, that's far from being true. Even if you are doing a class 9, I have taken up my subject. Suppose you are teaching economics, poverty. The students can be introduced to concrete experience. They may be asked to conduct a survey. For a preliminary survey can be conducted for people who clean their homes in the slum areas, and that experience will be shared by the students in the class group. That would lead to reflective observation. And when we are doing reflective observation, we will talk about presenting data. Students would be told to present their data on poverty on the various parameters like landlessness, size of family, unemployment, illiteracy, poor health, malnutrition, child labor, etc. Now they start conceptualizing that abstract. And from conceptualizing that abstract, they go to active experimentation by identifying the causes of poverty and suggested measures on the basis of the stories that has been discussed in the class. The key features of experiential approach to learning is it is student-centered, because the entire environment, the student himself experiences the learning. It is student control. They have more control over, the learner has more control over the pace of learning, the method of learning, the skills that they need to utilize this kind of learning. And the learning experience may be cooperative, collaborative or independent, and it may also be students will work together and learn how to question and evaluate evidence. It facilitates thinking critically, making decisions, master the knowledge by constructing it themselves. The teacher facilitates or guides the students. Experiential learning is the future. Why? Because why do you think experiential learning is going to be the future? Because it increases the engagement, accelerates the pace of learning. Students they shift from the realm of learning by doing, from theory to the realm of learning by doing. They use critical thinking, problem solving, decision making to deliver, and then it enables personalized learning, very, very effective for retention, because when they experience that, the learning goes beyond the classroom learning, and there is high level of retention. Experiential learning, when practiced correctly, leads to a dramatic impact on the participants' mindset. And when we use simulation and real scenarios that depict challenges, participant will eventually go to a higher level after completion of the course. Some of the examples of experiential learning, within classroom, it can be case studies, lab experiences, simulations, policy debates, prototyping, etc. Beyond and within, it can be a mixed, that is projects. They have always worked wonderfully well. Research projects, problem-based learning, capstone project, not very popular here, very popular abroad, where children says the entire process, share the process by which the project has been made, and student production. Beyond classrooms are internship, field trips, which are an amazing tool because they analyze things as they see. Community activism, social media, much on the rise. As school principal, we have to keep a tab on the misuse of it. Various resources are available, whether it is mathematical literacy practice book, comic book, teacher's resource for achieving learning outcomes for classes 1 to 10, handbook of inclusive education, handbook of joyful learning. 45 manuals and handbooks have been released in the last 3 years and are available in the CBSE academic web portal. All of them can be freely downloaded and kept, even soft copy. No need of taking out even the hard copy of it. You can refer to it whenever required. How do you ensure implementation of CBE, competency-based and experiential learning in your schools? You need to design pedagogical plan which should be coherent with the learning outcomes. Include specific and measurable learning outcome in all lesson plans by teachers and assess their achievement. Mentioning performance should always be mentioned in terms of competencies. Supplementary action should always be taken, remedial action, to help non-achievers to reach the desired minimum level. It can be done also beautifully by displaying posters of compact learning outcome in classrooms, in corridors, so that parents, students must know, children should come to know that this is what they are expected to learn. We need to integrate art and health education, life skill education, value education, use various kind of innovative pedagogical tools like experiential learning, art integrated learning, storytelling, sport integrated learning. Seva is another important thing that brings about very old concept given by CBSE for long. It is old because we have been practicing it for long. It brings about a wonderful connect. Children can bring about a connect with the real life. We need to download all CBSE manuals from the website and arrange for meetings and discussion at regular interval. Need to follow directions of CBSE issued from time to time regarding the compulsory training of teachers and other activities that are to be undertaken. This brings us to the third module of art integrated learning. This also stems from the same. Learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. As far as thrust on experiential learning, art integrated education has to be embedded in classroom transaction, not only for creating joyful classrooms, but also for developing respect and imbibing Indian ethos through integration of Indian art and culture in the teaching learning process. Art integrated learning, AIL, provides and strengthens linkages between education and culture. This is the guideline that NCERT has given on art integrated learning, and the time to time various circular. December 1, 2022 is the circular issued by CBSE, wherein a new portal. It has made that art integration has to be there, and Kala Setu, the portal that has been introduced, which makes mandatory art integrated projects for classes 1 to 10. And minimum one project has to be taken up. Mandatorily done with the partner state as given in Ek Bharat, Shresht Bharat. All of us are doing this. What is art integrated? It covers the following basic concepts like better appreciation of art. It leads to, helps students to appreciate art when they are using it. Understanding, using art in its various form for understanding the concepts of their content. It is a cross-curricular approach where art is used in multiple forms. Now, why do we use various forms of art, be it music, be it dance, be it painting, any kind of art that helps students to create their primary pathway to learn subjects. And that can be done by, it is a creative teaching learning approach also. And it is creative as well as constructive teaching learning approach, which students demonstrate while they use various forms of art, theater, it can be painting, it can be dance, it can be music. Now, one thing has to be taken care that when we are talking of art integrated learning, children are there with us for a long time. We need to expose them to various forms of art, and one must give exposure to the students on this in order to enable them to go for artistic exploration. They can find artistic academic content, understanding the concept through use of various art forms. This is a sample planner I have taken. Page 9 has this. It is generally a myth that art integrated learning cannot happen when we go to senior classes, and it has been beautifully shown even in the Kala Setu portal for all classes, all topics from grade 1 to 10. They have bifurcated and beautiful examples which can be applied, which can be revisited, and in the context of our own school area, geographic location, we can use them. Why do we feel that art integration is necessary? It's necessary because it deepens the understanding as it helps the child to apply art-based inquiry, investigation and exploration, critical thinking and creativity. And that is why it allows deeper understanding of academic concepts. Development of life skills. Art integration also helps students to develop various kind of life skills like communication skill, reflection and inquiry skill, appreciation for aesthetics and creativity. So many, once we integrate art integrated learning into our system use it as a pedagogical tool, not only the classroom becomes joyful, but children start appreciating aesthetics, appreciating art. Learning experience, it provides a learning experience whereby, because children are directly learning and understanding from the experience that they undergo, and it can be a dance form which can be used to explain a concept. Some beautiful videos are there. We are lacking in time, so would not be able to share much now, but then some beautiful videos on integrations of art in its various form is available. Not only this, since it is multi-dimensional approach, it allows students to find out the link between multidisciplines, between subjects, topics, and that is what happens in real life. What are the aims of art integrated learning? It is a pedagogical tool which is used in the classroom to achieve holistic learning. And how it is done? By integrating the aesthetic education and making it a pedagogical tool. It enhances the understanding of the subject through music, dance, drama, drawing, painting, various kind of crafts, etc. It makes learning active. Students are deeply involved, and it enhances their cognitive abilities. When we use art to explain a concept, students' understanding becomes far greater. They internalize the content in all areas of curriculum and in all disciplines. We need to understand there are two things which needs to be made clear. I'll just briefly go through it. One is art education, which is mandatorily to be done as a subject, and it is to be done from classes 1 to 10. Every school has to have compulsorily reserved 1 or 2 periods per week for art education. And one is art as a subject, the other one is art integrated education as a pedagogical tool. So as art teacher itself should cover all, art in itself has to cover all major spheres: music, dance, visual arts, theatre. Through art, we can introduce students to the varied and rich artistic traditions of our country. It is therefore recommended that has to be mandatorily done. But when we are talking about art integrated teaching and learning, that has to be again mandatorily there. This is the roadmap that has been given by, mandated to be followed by CBSE affiliated schools. Art must be integrated with teaching and learning process of all academic subjects from classes 1 to 12. Now, this should be done to promote experiential learning. By that, we'll be able to promote experiential learning to connect classroom knowledge and to the outside school world. Learning shifts. This ensures that learning shifts from rote method to enriching curricular practices. And it goes beyond the boundaries of textbook. Well, assessment, implementation of art integrated learning. What would be the steps that would be required? One of the challenges of art integrated learning is assessment. How do we initiate art integration in our classes? First, major step would be selecting a topic. Now that topic has to take out from the previous knowledge of the students, stemming it out from the past experiences. And then the teacher must extract information on the basis of interaction with the students and then find out the learning experiences of the past of the students and select a topic. Teacher need to provide opportunities for creative inquiries. Real life situations must be provided so that the learners can go for divergent thinking. Opportunities should be given to promote various opportunities on collaboration. Creativity must be provided. Assessment in case of art integrated learning is a challenge. We need to meticulously plan because the students should be assessed to understand their own as well as peer work. Opportunity should also be provided to the students if they have not been able to perform, and they should be again assessed whether the revision has enhanced and facilitated the learning experience. It should provide reflections on the new learning of the student using the art form. They have to identify, teachers need to do a lot of reflection. Identify what students have learned, how they have learned, and what the new learning actually means to them. So if we want to integrate, the first is select a topic, discuss on how it can be a topic of content that needs to be delivered, which form of art would be best suited to explain the topic, whereby students can internalize that, plan for the assessment, rubrics decided to be pre-decided, and then a lot of reflection with the learner, teacher and the learner should do together. Various kind of resources that are available. One is art integration towards experiential learning, CBSE resources that is available. That brings us to the next innovative pedagogy, which is sports integration. Again drawn from the National Education Policy 2022, which mandates that the curriculum in schools, learning should be holistic, integrated, enjoyable, and engaging. When we talk about sports integrated learning, like art integrated learning, sports integrated learning is also a cross-curricular pedagogical approach where physical activities, games, and sports are used in pedagogical practices to help develop several life skills such as self-discipline, teamwork, responsibility, citizenship, developing self-initiative, collaborations, so many of them. Once sports integrated learning would be undertaken in the classroom, students will take fitness as a lifelong attitude. Though the popularity in these days recently with the youth has increased a lot. Mainstreaming of health and physical education, these are the available document and the standard operating procedure that is required. I have shared that, required for affiliation with CBSE. These documents are available, which can always be checked to see what needs to be done so that we are able to integrate sports into education, sports as a tool. Why at all we feel that sports integration is necessary for experiential learning? Why this pedagogy has to be? Because sporting activity when clubbed with content, has several spillover effects on the child's performance and the behavior. It enhances the mental abilities. It has been proved scientifically by research in Stanford University that those students who are good at sports, who involve themselves in sports and physical activities, are able to think more out of the box. They have improvement in divergent and out of the box thinking rather than stereotypical thinking. It improves the creativity. Children were found more active on the field, who were physically more active, had more of creative and logical thinking than those students who did not play, who did not have any sports, participate in sports, and were physically inactive. Probably sports is one which teaches us, like no other stream, the power of resilience, the power of cooperation, the power of mental health. Mental health issues are addressed when we integrate sports into curriculum. It enhances the mental abilities also because it leads to out-of-box thinking. It aids in academics. Children are able to integrate the curriculum easily when the content is explained in the sports ground and other real life situation. See, in recent years, the need and awareness for physical fitness has been increasing, particularly post the pandemic period. However, as educators is to reiterate and understand that we are not talking of sports alone. We are talking about an innovative model of developing a sports integrated curriculum, which is very different from having a sports in the school. What do we need to have a good sports integrated activity? Schools can adopt sports as a powerful tool. Skills. However, caution to be taken when we develop sports integrated curriculum on the following 3 parameters. First is, it should be explicitly clear that what is the link and the purpose behind selective an activity, and it should be clear both to the teacher and student why we have chosen this content, how are we going to link it to a particular sport activity. That the students need to be aware and the teacher also. Now we need to devise some activity. When we are doing a content transaction, the activity that we choose should be meaningful, it should be challenging, it should be productive to the learner, and provide them with a context to show a skill being used. It should be motivating one. Teachers must review the resources prior to the teaching the lesson and also prepare relevant question to create curiosity, provide them opportunity to interact with the learner. By doing that, they will be helping by supporting their learning through assessment rather than only assessment of learning. I'm sure all of you are very clear. I'm not repeating that. I mean, we are into various stages when we do assessment of learning, for learning, and as learning. So here we need to be with them, help them, and support them in learning through assessment rather than assessment of learning. Well, if we intend to implement sports integrated model in our learning, it has to be challenging. It is challenging, and those challenges can be overcome with persistence, patience, and diligence only. The greatest challenge that we come across when we think of implementing sports integrated learning in our schools is sometimes the lack of sports facilities, the infrastructure, lack of knowledge. Many a time it is lack of knowledge. Knowledge among what? Subject teachers may not have the knowledge of sports and therefore fail to bring about the linkage and integrate the concept with a sporting activity. Sometimes there are a lot of apprehension that may create learning gap by reducing the syllabus. There is a perception in general that sports are for low achievers, academic performer, which is a myth. I'm sure every school principal would agree that they must have come across students who have done brilliantly in academics and were passionate about sports also. Uncertainty, one of the challenges that we face is the anxiety and apprehension of parents for future success of sports. Because if they choose, they are anxious to know if their wards choose a sport, how is it going to help them in their career progression? Lack of initiative, no policy support, additional credits for sports. However, a lot of things here has been done by CBSE, including if they are going for national and international participation, the board is conducting the exam for such students to boost sports integrated learning and children taking up sports, various kind of sports. Lack of innovation by teacher is another hurdle. Guidance is not there, complete lack of structured curriculum and adequate guidelines is absent. If a school's curriculum at the foundation stage is embracing sports integration, all students will learn well and develop higher order thinking skills. Learn other skills also, life skills, which are so very essential for successful life in later year. So many things are learned on the field, play field, that cannot, during one match maybe, which cannot be embedded in them for years of learning. That calls for art integrated learning to be made an integral part of our pedagogy. We take up another module, which is storytelling. Again, takes up from the same page. We will not repeat storytelling, whereby storytelling is by far the most important innovative tool and very, very interesting. These are the circulars and various kind of training programs, online training program that was organized for storytelling using storytelling as a pedagogy. It involves visualizing oneself as an artist, rather than once we are taking storytelling. Storytelling is something we need not discuss anything about the importance of storytelling. The stories that we liked are there in our mind that we had taken up in our childhood. So same, because it takes us to an entirely different world. However, it is an art that needs to be mastered. It is a performing art. It is a product as well as a process. It has to be taken up where it is to be, teachers need to look themselves as artists rather than mere disseminator of information. Because this will call for bringing aesthetics into teaching practice. Storytelling is an art that every teacher must grasp and master. It is also one of the most engaging learning pedagogy. Now, storytelling helps to package our content, which takes students to a world of fantasy. And then they create their path of learning by discovery as the story unfolds. If you use storytelling as a pedagogy, you are actually activating the senses, all the senses. Teachers help their students to see, to feel, to touch, to hear, to taste, and most importantly, to think. A lot of reflection happens. It is one of the most important tools to encourage reflection. Lot of reflection happens when you are using storytelling as a tool. The students empathize with the character. They predict the ending. They come up with alternative version. They question the plot. They solve problem and so on and so forth. The benefits of storytelling, it is a process and product of learning. It develops 21st century skills like critical thinking, creativity, collaboration, communication, helps to assess knowledge, skills, and values, enhances the teaching learning, applies multiple intelligence theory, creates a more equitable method of evaluating students' competences. How do we integrate stories in lesson? The steps that we need. Now, a topic need to be selected based on the topics that are to be covered across the subject. Now, for example, any topic of science can be combined with an art form, any form of art, and then language can go in all subject. For example, the example we have taken here is that of tooth, which is a science topic. It can be taken up clubbed together with clay modeling and language. We can always, it is complementary. We have to look for complementary topics and the subjects that can be taught across and weave the story. The weaving has to go as per the content and the subject. Science lessons, for example, can be taught very well, can be taken up. A concept of science can be taken up to teach a particular language structure. You need to identify stories, and stories can be identified from various sources. Teachers need to weave the character and events in the story to connect to the main idea. Character in the stories help create an emotional connection with the topic, and that gives to a higher level of learning experiences. Teachers need to create an extension activity which will help learner to relate the topic better as it is based on a character. And that has been introduced in the story. Collaboration by teachers. Now, one of the very important features of storytelling is, since it is multidisciplinary approach to teaching, it will require collaboration from teachers of various subjects. That is why we say that stories have power to bring together various subjects. Teachers, in order to make storytelling as a successful methodology, teachers of various grades, levels must be involved together. They must sit together. They must find out pick up a story, pick up a concept, build the story around the concept, put the content in that, and then grade specific and subject specific can also be done in this multidisciplinary approach. However, storytelling cannot succeed if teachers work in isolation. There has to be an objective for creating stories, and that is, how do you introduce? You can do either introduce a new topic or build up on the previously taught topic of the class. Identify whether the story will show some application of a concept or simply explain the concept. It would be better if a comprehensive list of facts and details are available with the story. They can weave their own fictional story around that concept and use the information. The story can center around the concept, and it can be used either as a problem or a solution to the problem in the plot. If the story can be based on the application of concepts, especially for subjects such as mathematics, science, and social sciences. The art of storytelling, few qualities that push a basic story into the art of story. It has to have a narrative. It should be attention grabbing. It must be imaginative and interactive. A few examples of things that can be used as props for storytelling. I mean, the props can go anywhere. It can be anything and everything, puppets, picture cards, to name a few, illustrative boards, wordless picture books, etc. The resources that are available at page 100 of Principal's Handbook talks about storytelling as a pedagogy. Page 174 of NCF Foundation Stage also speaks about storytelling as a pedagogy. And I have shared a YouTube link whereby this is available by the webinar by CBSE training unit. I'll give you a small break to see a video, and we then proceed to inclusive education, the last module. Please see this small video, and then we proceed to the last module.
Believes that education is strongest when it embraces diversity. Learners should not have to adapt to the system. Instead, education systems should adapt to their needs. When students do not feel welcome in school, they are less likely to learn. This is everyone's loss. But rich and poor countries too often educate some children apart. Children who have a disability, have been displaced, speak a different language, or are poor and disadvantaged. School design may favor some students over others, as do many laws and policies. Teachers are often ill-equipped to cater for students' diverse needs. Children may not recognize the way they are portrayed in textbooks. Some may not see themselves there at all. They receive the message that they do not belong. Testing sometimes follows a narrow vision of education, and consequently, some students leave education earlier than they should. These are complex problems to solve, but a belief in the right to education is a belief in inclusion. Children have different learning speeds and needs. They need curricula that are flexible, creative, and relevant. How we prepare teachers matters. They must be given the tools and training to achieve our vision for reform. The resources we know can help the marginalized, educators, support staff, and equipment should be shared so that everyone can benefit. Better data on those left behind will help us reach them. Disadvantages often accumulate. We can't address inclusion one group at a time. Redressing these disadvantages requires funds. These must be equitable and target individual-specific needs. We must work together on these tasks across government ministries, from central to local authorities, with civil society supporting governments, and schools opening doors to the community. Inclusion in education requires a change in mindset in society, so that education for all means education for everyone, without exception. Achieving this is everybody's business, including yours.
This talks about our last module, which is inclusive education. This is derived directly from NEP page 24, Equitable and Inclusive Education Learning for All. While it is essential that we should have education is the single most powerful tool through which an inclusive society can be developed, where every citizen has the opportunity to dream, thrive, and contribute to the nation. And it is our responsibility to see that no child loses any opportunity to learn and excel because of circumstances of birth or background. The various CBSE circulars on that are there. We first need to understand what is inclusive education. The basic tenet of understanding inclusive education is we have to understand and acknowledge that each child is unique in terms of physical ability and mental capacity. And they have a preferential learning style. We have to understand it is a broad term which encompasses the diversity of learner. Each child, we have diverse learner in the school. So the entire school culture need to make strategies to support the diversity of learner. The first step in bringing into inclusion into the school is equitable and non-discriminatory arrangement where each child should feel valued, accepted, and respected. As school principals, we need to plan activities, both curricular and co-curricular, as per that suits their capability. And the barriers to we need to plan community, take support of community. We need to build a community whereby everyone, whether it is peers, students, teacher, all of them support the children with special needs. They create an environment where each child can acquire academic and social skills. There are certain differences, some false semblance. One is integrated education, whereby the children with special needs are placed in regular education setting. And there is an expectation that special education need must fit into the pre-existing structure, attitudes that are already there, unaltered environment that already exists in the school. When we say special education, it is a practice of educating students in an exclusive setup and in a way that addresses their differences and need through individualized. We have these individualized education plan for them. This is a process whereby we have to individually plan, systematically monitor, teaching learning procedures, have to have adapted equipment, materials, collaborative teaching that would involve parents, and we will have an accessible setting. Mainstreaming education is a practice. These three, though often used interchangeably, are significantly different from each other. When we say mainstreaming education, it is special education services in regular class during specific period. They are made to sit with the class. Otherwise, they are given some specific helps, and then they go and sit in a regular class. Particularly, some of them may be very gifted at computer. So they may do the computer class with the regular classrooms also. What are the benefits if we bring in inclusion? The benefits are a sense of belonging develops. It benefits everybody. People start accepting individual differences. Research has proved that if we are able to bring inclusion into and make it into a culture in our schools, it improves the academic outcome of the children with special needs. They are better socially adjustable. Their economic outputs are better because they do better in life, they contribute, they become a productive member of the society. Those who have been groomed into special education also have they go faster into higher education. They do not drop out early. How do you do the curriculum planning when you talk about inclusive education? Providing physical assistance, and you have to make accommodations and adjustments in material and equipment. Many a time you have to have age appropriate activities which may not have, that can be planned for them. You need to individually plan, give them a curriculum if they are unable to do the main curriculum, wherein you have multi-level curriculum. It works wonderfully well. Now, students work at different level, but at the same subject area. Many a time, teachers alternative curriculum or substitute activities if the primary instructional needs, to fulfill the primary instructional needs, if the curriculum which is meant for the whole class is not appropriate to them. Several resources are there. One thing for sure before we talk about inclusive education is we need to understand that it is our responsibility to take care of these students. By bringing about various kind of changes, accommodations that are required, making barrier-free access, giving them barrier-free access, having materials that would be needed, that are there. And this is a beautiful document which talks about how inclusion can be brought into the school. With this, I come to the end of this. I'll stop sharing and would like to take some questions. You can write in the chat. I'll be able to take some, and hope you all have enjoyed being here. Any questions that are there, you may write. I will take up from the chat box. I request all my concluding remarks, if the questions are not there, would be to make sure that we implement. The purpose of PRAYOG is the initiatives that have been taken by the CBSE should not go waste. We as pedagogical leader, we as heads of school have to make sure that we are able to implement. And implementation, it's doable. However, it is doable only when we are there as rock support for our teachers. We are there with them when they are doing the planning, when they need to alter, and give them a lot of support and reassurance that no matter what happens, they can try innovative pedagogies. If it doesn't work, if one doesn't work, the other will work. So therefore, with this, I come to an end of this. If anyone has any question, I would take up that. And they can write on the chat, or else we'll close this meeting. Dheeraj, can you see the chat? Any questions in the chat?
Yes, ma'am.
Any questions in the chat box? I can't see, so I can close it then. I'm ready to take any questions if it comes.
Okay, ma'am.
असल में वो तो सिर्फ एक प्रोटोटाइप ही है, जो करेंगे तो वो तो ऑनलाइन ही है ना, तो वो है, उसको छोड़ दो.
So I close